Welcome back to my channel for a super exciting Leica episode. And this box here was handed over to me more than 2 months before the official launch, the official go live of the next family member of the Leica SL3. And in this video, I will tell you everything you need to know about that camera. We'll look into sample images in the way I typically do my first shootings. There will be a bunch of follow-up videos in the next weeks. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. Many thanks for that. All right, this is the box. It says Math Photographer. And here is, I think that is a smiley, or is it a 1, 1 and something else? I don't know what that symbol means. Hopefully it means something good. And let me reveal what camera I'm talking about. Let's get this off and we talk about the brand new Leica SL3-P in black finish. And I have a lot to say about that camera. And by the way, I'm super happy that I have it already more than 2 months before the official start, the official go live, the official announcement by Leica. And I can tell you right now, because I was shooting that camera yesterday for about 4 to 5 hours, this is my new dream system camera from Leica. In a moment, I will have 3 cameras in front of me on the table, the Leica SL3, the Leica SL3-S, and the new Leica SL3-P. I will skip the full unboxing this time because this box was opened already, but there is one good news. It's the usual content you have in a Leica SL packaging in the way it is shipped, but there is one good news and I want to quickly show you. Let's get this off here. And I will actually take the effort to show you so you see it. And the good news is the USB cable is a USB-C cable. Have a look here. Let's get this all out. No unboxing. You have the usual stuff inside. And you've seen it in many unboxings on my channel. But it is USB-C. Look here and look here. Finally, Leica seems to have listened to us users, to us photographers, and did not ship a USB-A to USB-C cable in a Leica camera box. I will now very quickly clean this up, reassemble the box, because I have to give it back in one piece with the camera inside, of course, tomorrow already. And then we'll go in detail into the new Leica SL3-P and what it has in common, which is a lot, and what distinguishes it from the Leica SL3 and the Leica SL3-S. All right, here we go. This is my Leica SL3 Reporter. This is my Leica SL3-S. You recognize it by the engraving Leica, but no color on it. And this, my dear friends, is the new Leica SL3-P. And the really cool thing, which I want to anticipate right at the beginning is, if you think about the Leica SL3 being my #1, this will very likely change now. And I'm pretty sure, but in the title of the video, I was still cautious when I said the Leica SL3-P is likely the very best system camera ever made by Leica. But I'm already pretty sure. I will follow up, of course, after I've done my series of videos like shooting long exposures at nighttime, looking into rolling shutter effects when shooting with electronic shutter, testing the pixel shift multi-shot option, looking into dynamic range, all of that. But I'm already pretty sure this very likely will be from now on my most favorite Leica system camera, my most favorite Leica SL camera. By the way, from time to time, we'll sneak into the menu also of the Leica SL3 and the Leica SL3-S. And don't get confused if you watch my tutorials. This camera is currently not set up for me and was actually resetted because I gave it as a loan to my friend Eugen. And here is his YouTube channel. He needed this camera for a bunch of shootings. He will also pick it up coming week. And I just wanted to have it here for this video, because of course we need to consider the new Leica SL3-P in the context of a Leica SL3 and a Leica SL3-S. So, design-wise, what's new on the Leica SL3-P? Well, the first eye-catching difference is that there is no longer a red Leica logo here. In the same way as my reporter style Leica SL3 has no logo, there is no red dot Leica logo here, but it has the prominent engraving Leica here. And in contrast to the Leica SL3-S, it's also painted with white color. So people will still recognize from a far distance that this is very expensive gear. Otherwise, everything is kind of the same. The dimensions of the camera body, in the same way as we see it for the Leica SL3 and the Leica SL3-S, are exactly the same. What really changed are the inner values and what Leica implemented here. And of course, we have here a brand new sensor, which is a main topic for me in all my videos, which I'm going to do on the new Leica SL3-P. You have here two customizable function buttons. Everything looks exactly the same. Also from the top side, everything looks exactly the same. Let me take my Leica SL3 Reporter here and put them side by side. Top LCD display, customizable function buttons here. The shutter release button sits here. We have two programmable control wheels sitting on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. And it's exactly the same camera body, no changes. And of course, this one here is special because it's my SL3 Reporter. And if you look carefully, you already see here, that's a bit more in white now. It used to be all black, like here, where I don't touch it. But if you shoot these cameras intensely with this aramide or Kevlar type finish on reporter style cameras, they start to show patina. And that's what you see here, where I permanently have my hands, my thumb, and everything resting. Here it's more black. Here it gets this patina. That's a special feature of the Leica SL3, and you can judge by looking at the camera of someone, if it is a reporter style camera, if that person is shooting it intensely, or if the camera is just resting on a shelf. This camera, for sure, is heavily shut already, if you look at that. Very different here in terms of texture and color, where I don't touch a lot and where I touch a lot. Here we have the usual finish for a Leica SL camera body. Looks very nice, but everything in terms of design and mechanical control elements on the camera body is fully in line with what we have on the SL3 and the SL3-S. What's also the same is the menu system with a couple of differences. So let's switch the camera on. And let's have a look. Let me focus here on the background. If you have here the usual control screen, this is exactly the same as on the Leica SL3. And it can also be customized on these 8 fields here. So 2x4, a matrix of soft buttons, and you customize it in the usual way. You tap and hold, and then you can scroll through a bunch of options. And I want this to be exposure mode here. I will very likely do a fully fledged tutorial on the customization of this SL3-P, although I've done it in the past, I think for both the SL3-S and the SL3. But for new owners of this camera, it might be convenient to have exactly the same touch and feel as when you own this camera newly. So I will very likely post a short tutorial on this camera very soon. But the customization of the control screen, the way the elements appear, everything is exactly the same. It's Leica SL3 DNA, but with a dash and a P. And if we go through the menu here, there are a couple of differences to the Leica SL3, which I want to quickly show you. And the first one is actually here. Let me go here on the very last page at Leica Content Credentials. And when the Leica SL3 was introduced, and I was at the influencer event back then, the Leica M camera in its latest version already had the Content Authenticity Initiative functions. And Leica calls this Leica Content Credentials. And that helps you with adherence to a standard protocol to protect your footage. And you can actually, for instance, track in Lightroom Classic exactly whether someone has made any changes, any manipulation to your image, and it helps you to protect your rights on an image and on your footage. And on the Leica SL3, this was not included because in the development cycle, the Leica M camera in its latest version had it already implemented, but the Leica SL3 back then was too far in development to make it possible to include content credentials. And the reason is that Leica for this requires a hardware chip in the camera which helps for getting this protection done. And this was impossible to get included so far in the development cycle of the Leica SL3. The Leica SL3-S has it. Let me show you quickly. So you see this. Let's switch this camera on. No memory card. Yes, it's Eugen's memory card, as I mentioned before, and that's not included here. If we go to the very last page, we find here the Leica Content Credentials, and then you see here, you can sign your content, you can mark your copyright, produced by, and so on. And this is not in the Leica SL3, but in the SL3S. And now, of course, since this is a brand new camera here, it's sitting in the Leica SL3-P. And I think that's very nice. It's becoming more and more a problem that your footage is stolen, abused, used by people who have not authorization to do so. And here you can at least have a proof of evidence that this is your photo, this is your footage, it's protected in your name as the author and owner. In terms of storage and cards, it's also the same as what we have on the Leica SL3 and the Leica SL3-S. We have here an SD card and we have here a compact flash express type B card. So also in terms of storage, we have exactly the same, and in the same way as the other SL cameras, we also don't have internal storage. Let's quickly go here to storage management, and then you see I can format my SD card and my compact flash express type B card. I have storage options. I typically set this in a way that all footage is ending up simultaneously on the SD and the compact flash express type B card, but you can also use sequences here or overflow, what have you. And that's it. There is no internal memory like you find it, for instance, in Leica M cameras in the latest version. You just rely on the 2 card slots here, which in my opinion is enough. But some people always appreciate internal storage, like you have it, for instance, on the Hasselblad X2D Mark II with 1 terabyte. Here you don't have it, it's all on cards. In terms of hardware, the biggest difference between these 3 SL cameras is their sensor. And on the SL3S, we have what Leica in the marketing material calls a single resolution sensor with 24 megapixel. And we have a multi-shot option for 96 megapixel in its highest resolution. On the SL3, you see it here in the middle, we have a triple resolution sensor. Native resolution is 60 megapixel, and that's the large dimension, but we can also shoot with 36 megapixel, that's the medium resolution, and 18 megapixel, that's the small resolution. And the multi-shot option here goes up to 240 megapixel. And I showed that in a video on my channel, of course, with sample images. And here on the SL3-P now, we have what Leica calls a double resolution sensor. And the native resolution of the sensor, and I come to more detailed specifications in a moment, is 44 megapixel. So we are here actually at par with the famous and shown many times on my channel Nikon C8 and Nikon C9. They have 45 megapixel. Here we have 44 megapixel. And double resolution means we also have a smaller resolution available, which is 26 megapixel. I want to quickly show this to you. You see this in the menu, and we go here. Let's go to, now I missed it, sorry, file format. Here we go, and then you see there is L and S, but there is not L and M and S because it's not triple resolution like we have it here on the Leica SL3. It really is a double resolution. And LDNG means 44 megapixel, full native resolution of the sensor. SDNG means reduced resolution of 26 megapixel, which still outperforms the native 24 megapixel here in the Leica SL3S. So you can actually convert this camera if you want immediately in a slightly better SL3S by just choosing here SDNG, or in combination if you want so, SDNG and SJPEG. And that is an option you have here in the menu. And you see, by the way, we have everything in one menu, and that is a novum, came with firmware 4.0.0. I explained in a couple of videos that the menu system of the SL cameras, the SL3 system, is fully convergent now with the menu system of the Leica Q3 cameras. And they have reorganized a lot in the menus, and you find a detailed, comprehensive video about that on my channel. I will post a link down below in the info box. So I will not spend a lot of time showing you the menu here because I covered basically all of that by showing you back then in my explanations the menu system of the Leica SL3. Before I continue with showing you certain things, features, also looking into autofocus and all of that, let me quickly share with you the full specifications in a comparison table between the SL3, the SL3-S, and the new SL3-P. And first of all, we have the same category of sensors. It's all BSI CMOS sensors, so backside illuminated means very good qualification for low light and night shootings. We have, as I just mentioned and showed you, triple resolution 60, 36, 18 megapixel on the SL3, single resolution 24 megapixel natively on the sensor on the SL3-S, and the SL3-P has what Leica now calls the double resolution, 44 megapixel natively and 26 megapixel in the S resolution. In the ISO range, we have 100 to 100,000 on the SL3. On the SL3-S, we have an extended ISO range from 50 to 200,000, and on the SL3-P, we have also 50 to 200,000. And I guess the native lower resolution on the sensor enables just higher ISO values in extreme situations. Of course, I'm going to test this out. It's always a lot of fun shooting a digital camera with an extreme ISO of 200,000. We'll see what comes out. My gut feeling is it will be kind of usable, but not very pleasant. Let's see. And subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You will get all these follow-up videos and data points in the next weeks. Now, we come to a very exciting topic. The SL3 has a sensor readout time of 100.7 milliseconds. And the SL3-S has 51.3 milliseconds, so is double as fast. And now on the SL3-P, we have 39.6 milliseconds. And also here, I really want to test this out. And I have my own little setup, which I showed already on the channel some time back for testing rolling shutter effects. Let's see if we see an improved behavior with moving subjects on the SL3-P compared to the SL3. Autofocus system, I'll show you a couple of items live in a moment on the camera. We have on all three cameras face detection, autofocus, face with a pH, contrast autofocus, we have object detection autofocus, and you know that human subjects, animals, I've shown this many times on the channel, but also here, a very positive surprise. The number of autofocus points has increased for the SL3-P, and on the SL3 we have 315, on the SL3-S we have 779, and on the SL3-P we have 819. Burst speed, also a positive surprise for me when I looked into Leica's marketing material more than 2 months before the official go live. 15 frames per second on paper for the SL3, but only 5 frames per second with full autofocus support. 30 frames per second with full autofocus support on the SL3-S, and breathtakingly 40 frames per second, and for Leica that's absolutely breathtaking, with full autofocus support. We have a look into this in a moment. I just want to quickly show you this in the menu to confirm what you see here on paper. Video features. The SL3 has video features up to 8K video modes, 8K cinematic, and so on. The SL3-S has always been known to be the camera as the better candidate for advanced features in videography. We have 8K open gate recording, 5.9K HDMI raw video footage, and 4K resolution with 60p. On the SL3-P, we have now the same advanced features and improved HDMI raw, namely we have 8K open gate recording and 8K HDMI raw, 4K at 120p. So huge improvements here on the video side. Content credentials, I mentioned this at the very beginning of the video, not existent on the SL3 based on the development cycle of the camera. In the SL3-S, I showed you live, we have it, but it's not there in burst mode. And on the SL3-P, finally, it's there without any restrictions. And also expected and very nice, Leica embedded the price tag nicely sitting between the most expensive of the three, the Leica SL3, 6,800 Swiss franc. The SL3-S is at the lower end, 5,190 Swiss franc. And the SL3-P sits just in between at close to 6,000 100,000 Swiss franc. And of course, if you are sitting abroad in the US, in Asia, in the UK, Leica will have kind of the same proportions between the three price tags for these three cameras, but just converted into your home currency. I want to add one more point, is a minor point, but if we go to the sensor and resolution again, I mentioned before we have on the SL3 a 240 megapixel multishot mode. On the SL3S we can go up to 96 megapixel, but also use 48 megapixel. The SL3-P now has, according to Leica's marketing material, 177 megapixel, but in the camera, and I'm going to show you in a moment, it says 176. Now, I'm trying this out anyway. I will take the camera for a pixel shift multi-shot shooting very soon, and then we'll see in Lightroom what the truth is. There are sometimes these tiny little inconsistencies we have to live with. In terms of pixel shift multi-shot, let me quickly show you that tiny little deviation between what I see in the camera and in the marketing material from Leica. We need to go into drive mode, and then, as I said, the menu system is exactly aligned with the Leica SL3 and SL3-S. Let's go down here to multi-shot, let's activate it, and we go into the settings. And I will definitely do a pixel shift multi-shot video very soon, and then we'll actually see the effective resolution in Lightroom Classic, of course. But if I go here to the file format, you see here, for instance, on LJPEG, 176 megapixel in contrast to 177 megapixel in the Leica marketing material. It's not a lot, you know, it's 1 megapixel of difference. I personally believe this might be a rounding, and we'll find out very soon in a follow-up video, but I just wanted to show you. Now, in terms of burst mode and continuous shooting, clearly we can start with the Leica SL3 and look into the drive mode. And if I go here to continuous shooting, you see here we have full autofocus support only up to 5 frames per second. And by the way, it decreases at 4 frames per second. You still get 14-bit. Here you get 12-bit, but at least you have full autofocus support. 6 frames per second, you will not have updates on the autofocus if you shoot in that burst mode. Totally different here now in the new Leica SL3-P. Let me go quickly here into drive mode. Let's go here to continuous shooting. And then you see here all different versions of frames per second. And you see you get even at 15 frames per second, and here it was at 4, you get still full autofocus support and 14-bit. And you also get it at 25 frames per second. And then at 30 frames per second and 40 frames per second, you have 12-bit images, but you still have full autofocus support. And these line items like here, where all of a sudden, let me go here back, where you see the AF standing for autofocus support vanishing. If I go from 5 frames per second to 6 frames per second, these type of burst rates is no longer existent on the Leica SL3-P, because up to the very last menu entry here, you always have full autofocus support, and that makes this camera a killer camera when it comes to sports and actions photography. I personally believe it might be the first very much capable sports and action camera in the Leica system camera world. But let's see, there's a lot more to come, as I said before. Now, there's another specification which I just showed you in that comparison table between the 3 Leica SL cameras, which I want to call out very quickly. And that's the ISO range. So I showed you in the marketing material, it says we have here an extended ISO range from 50 to 200,000 on the Leica SL3-P, in the same way as on the Leica SL3-S. Whereas here, on the Leica SL3, we can only go up to 100,000 ISO. Unfortunately, I don't see it yet in the camera. And since I'm more than 2 months ago from the go live, the announcement of this brand new Leica system camera, it can very well be that this is still the pre-production sample with not the final firmware on it. And at least I wanted to flag it here, because if I tell you it goes up to 200,000 based on marketing material, and then it goes only up to 100,000, it will probably not break the use case for you. But at least I want to be honest and show you. And here, if we go here into the ISO range, you see I can go down to an ISO of 50, then it goes into automatic mode, and I can go up to 100,000. But I cannot go to 200,000 like I can do on the Leica SL3-S. Let me quickly show you. Here we go. And now I can push the slider up to 200,000. That is not yet possible on my very likely pre-production sample. I will only find out if I have my own unit in my hands, which I will get right at the end of June, if I'm not mistaken. And then I can look into this again. Specifications say 200,000 ISO in the camera. In this very likely pre-production firmware, I see only 100,000. Nothing I can do about that, but I want to let you know, of course, in this video. Let me also spend a quick remark on the readout time of the sensor. There's clearly a huge improvement here. So on the Leica SL3, I mentioned before 100.7 milliseconds. On the Leica SL3-S, about half of the time is required to read out the full sensor, 51.3 milliseconds. And here we have now 39.6, let's call it a 40 millisecond readout time of the sensor. That's clearly a huge improvement compared to the Leica SL3, but I personally doubt that it will be fast enough to avoid rolling shutter effects at all. And the reason is that if you look at the flagship cameras with the fastest readout times in terms of their sensors, forgetting for a moment about a global shutter, which is in at least one Sony Alpha camera, we talk on the Nikon C9 about a readout time of the sensor in 3.7 milliseconds. So we compare, let's call it 4 milliseconds with 40 milliseconds on the SL3-P. So I personally believe we'll not get rolling shutter effect free if we shoot in electronic shutter, but we'll see an improvement in terms of distortion of moving subjects when we compare the SL3-P with the SL3 and even with the SL3-S. And just to mention another data point, I think the Sony Alpha 1 Mark II also has a readout time of give or take 4 milliseconds, which is only 10% in the same way as for the Nikon C9 of the time the SL3-P needs to read out the full sensor in one go. Next, I want to show you sample images, and these are all daylight images. I was driving through Canton Schwyz here in Switzerland, about 4 hours, stopping at different locations, taking shots, experimenting with the new Leica SL3-P. And of course, I want to share it in this video because I don't think that a camera review or lens review is anything worth if you don't show sample images. But that's only half of the story. What I will also do very soon is doing a low light and night shooting in the usual way and testing the SL3-P for its low light capabilities. All right, let's look into sample images, and these are daylight images, all shot handheld, of course. And that's my first round of getting to know this new Leica SL3-P. As said before, I will go into a night shooting video very soon. We'll take photos in low light on a tripod, of course, at base ISO 100 of this new camera sensor with 44 megapixel native resolution. And I will, of course, also test the pixel shift multi-shot mode. And that completes then my roundup, also looking, of course, into dynamic range and all of that. So let's have a look here. I will walk through these images very quickly, but the footage is very, very nice. Super detailed and very nice in the way the colors come across. Very nice in the way I get contrast, micro contrast, everything here. Swiss flag here, a restaurant on a hill. And church tower here, look, it was just close before 3 p.m. when I took that shot here. And the footage is 100% convincing to me. As I indicated before, this will highly likely, I'm almost 100% certain, become my most favorite system camera in the Leica universe. Everything in the scene is captured in a beautiful way. In the nearer distance here, these houses here, then the trees, it's spring of course, then the causeway over the lake towards Rapperswil, that city I've shown a couple of times on my channel already, looks all really, really good. And I'm super pleased with these images. Here the two islands in Lake Zurich, and you see the buildings, captures everything. 44 megapixel is not a really big difference in my personal subjective perception to 60 megapixel, although it's about 15 megapixel away in terms of resolution, but you can crop in fairly well. And if you have a still image scene with not a lot of moving subjects closer to you, you can use the pixel shift multi-shot mode, which I'm going to try out very soon. Here a flower, look at that, cropped in already, very nice, beautifully rendered by the 24 to 90 millimeter Vario Elmarit lens. Here the view towards Zurich city. This is here at the horizon, like always in Switzerland around the lakes, a little bit hazy atmosphere in the weather, but still enjoyable. The island again. Then I was moving towards the Swiss mountains. Look here how this is rendered. Look at that. This is very, very nice. Looks really, really good. Here, slightly different perspective. Let's move on here. Towards the lake, you have these farmhouses here. Look what a great level of detail this 44 megapixel brand new, as I said repeatedly, is capturing here. Very, very nice. Good outcomes. Mountains again. Different perspectives. Here, very famous mountain in Canton Schwyz, the big Mythen mountain here. Look at that. You can almost count the stones on the mountain, which is a bit of a stupid statement, I should say. Here, construction site, which we'll see, I think, again in a moment in another picture. Beautiful Switzerland. Have I ever mentioned how much I love being Swiss and living in Switzerland? Well, look at that. What else could you ask for, right? Switzerland is just beautiful. But look at the level of detail here. Look at these houses and the landscape around it. Here is a bus station, and you can read everything on that sign here. 44 megapixel is significantly more, at least that's my subjective gut feeling, than 24 megapixel on the SL3S. Is a little less than what you have in terms of 60 megapixel on the SL3, but to me, the resolution feels just right. And here we have the municipality of Canton Schwyz, and surrounded by mountains, beautiful, impressive mountains, and all the footage comes across in an almost perfect way. There's really nothing to criticize for me. Look at that here, the valley, the mountains, the colors, the details, everything is there. Look at this barn house here, contrast, micro contrast, everything is captured. And again, always a slightly hazy atmosphere. And of course, also the sun coming from an angle here, which was not always fortunate for capturing the image, but very nice. Look at this house here with a tiny little pool here, very likely for the children. And I think this is plenty of resolution. I always said it when I was showing the SL3-S on the channel. 24 megapixel is still good enough for pro photography, but 44 megapixel is sitting in a very nice way between 24 and 60 megapixel in terms of file size, plenty of resolution, the way you can handle it in post-processing and so on. It's just the perfect interpolation between the SL3 and the SL3S, but it gives you this extra of speed, which of course I need to test out with a dedicated autofocus video and one of my photo models. But it is a very, very nice compromise between 60 megapixel and 24 to go to 44 with a brand new developed sensor. Here, one of these old buildings in the municipality of Canton Schwyz. Look how beautiful this is. The car park here in front of it is less beautiful, but you know, we have to probably overlook it. Little alleys here. And I did a little walk here and took photos here. Again, the big Mythen, the famous mountain in Canton Schwyz, probably the most famous mountain, which is here in this canton. Church tower again. Now it's 4:15 p.m. You saw I was moving on from the last church tower photograph I showed to you. But very nice. Old houses here. And look at that. Contrast, micro contrast, sharpness, detail, colors. Everything is captured really good. Of course, the 24 to 90 millimeter Vario Elmarit is also contributing to that. It's an excellent lens. And if you have not seen my video, as I said before, look it up. It's my all times favorite zoom lens in the Leica SL lineup. Here is skateboard shop. And look at the level of detail I captured here with the Leica SL3-P. Very nice. You even see the price tag here. I think this is 399 Swiss franc for this particular skateboard here. Then a fountain in the middle of the old part of town. Then I was moving on here. This is now in a valley in Canton Schwyz is called the Murtertal. I don't even know if there is any English translation for that, but it's a beautiful valley. And I was just driving up here, found a little waterfall here. Look at that. Not too much water at this point in time, but nicely captured by the SL3-P and the Vario Elmarit lens. Here again, look at the details. There is nothing hidden if you point this camera towards a scene and capture an image. A nice bridge here, nice river, have a look. And here, you know, now this is 24 millimeter, this is 53 millimeter, slight perception of compression here in this landscape image, and so on and so on. There is not a single point of criticism I have to add here. I'm super happy with the footage, and at the same time I'm super excited to come to my night photography shooting and seeing how this camera delivers at nighttime on a tripod and shooting at base ISO of 100, which here is also the case, but is not really something that not any other camera could also do. If you shoot in bright daylight, most digital cameras today will deliver really good footage. And here the bridge again. Very nice with this arc going from one side of the river to the other side of the river, like it. And then I was moving on from Canton Schwyz to Canton Zug. As I said at the beginning of the video, I was trying out this camera in daylight shooting for about 4 to 5 hours. And this is the Yard Harbor in Canton Zug at the municipality of Zug. And it's just beautiful here. Here's a restaurant with some steam. I don't know what that is, but it looked impressive to me. And look at the detail, how I see how the people here sitting on this terrace and enjoying the beautiful evening and the weather. The mountains in the background, very nice, and so on and so on. Here I was shooting towards the waterfront of the municipality of Zug. Very nice old core part of the city. We'll see this in a moment again. Here's some people fishing, enjoying the sun. I was walking around the harbor here and also enjoying my time with this brand new camera. People rowing in a boat over the lake, very nice. And here is the waterfront of the municipality of Zug. And this is really nice because it's a panorama shot. I was stitching several frames together, and all in, I ended up here at 125 megapixel instead of the native resolution of 44 of this brand new sensor. And that gives you a lot of detail if I crop in here. We can now really walk along the waterfront of the municipality of Zug and see and discover all the details of this beautiful city here. And I really like that. Panorama stitching is something I really like to do. And here it takes me up from the native sensor resolution of 44 megapixel to 125 megapixel. Couple of more images. Here close-up shooting with the Vario Elmarit 24-90. Look at the beautiful background bokeh here and at the sharpness and crispness I get here at this water tap. Very, very nice. Still in the harbor of the municipality of Zug. Very nice. All right, and here police boat, I just liked it. There is always law and order in Switzerland. We don't deviate from rules, and we make sure everyone and everybody can live in peace. And that's all in terms of sample images. Let me now quickly conclude the video. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to say and show. I hope you liked my introductory video on the new Leica SL3-P. And as I said, there is more to come. Low light and night shooting on a tripod. Testing the pixel shift multi-shot mode with 176 or maybe 177 megapixel as repeatedly said in this video. I will also test out rolling shutter effects and compare it with the Leica SL3. And of course, there is always more to come also on the autofocus side, because the burst rate of 40 frames per second with full autofocus support, I cannot test here in the studio. I will have to go on a shooting with one of my photo models, which I will also do in due time and post a video here on my channel. Well, having said that, of course, I need a real human being as a photo model to test the burst rate of 40 frames per second with full autofocus support. But what I can at least give you here is a tiny little pre-taste. And let's go into the camera settings here, and let's go back here to focus mode. Let's go to autofocus continuous. Let's go here to tracking. And let's go on detection to human eye and face. Let's go on the next page in drive mode to continuous shooting. And let's go to the extreme of 40 frames per second and 12-bit autofocus. And now let me go a little bit into the tail area. Here we go, her face is recognized. Now, since this is a pre-production sample, I don't know if it really fires 40 frames per second. And as just said, I will come back with autofocus testing in detail if I have the final camera in my hands, my own unit. But let's just quickly listen to the sequence. If I fire the camera now in burst mode, let's see if it is possible that you hear something. I think it stopped before 40 frames per second. I don't think that were really 40 frames, but you know, it's a pre-taste. It sounds very quick. It sounds much faster than what I'm used to from the Leica SL3 and even from the Leica SL3-S. And as I said, I will come back with a fully fledged autofocus test just in the next couple of weeks after the official announcement of that camera, which I believe will be by the end of June, in the last week of June, give or take. If you liked this presentation, don't forget to drop me your thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There is always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.